At Loc-Doc Security, our mission is to help you protect your people and your property. And one of those things that happens when you're trying to protect your people and your property is oftentimes you might get locked out. So today's question is...
what to expect from a locksmith when you're locked out?
Yeah, it's something common, and I think a lot of people are unsure because maybe it's the first time. I would venture to say a lot of people, once they get locked out once, they take measures so that it doesn't repeat itself.
It's one of those things that you don't normally want to repeat.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So this is an effort to try to educate you on what you should be looking for, questions you should be asking of any individual if you get in that position.
Yeah, so one of the things in the industry is not being able to trust the locksmith that's doing the work and making sure that you're getting good quality work out of it. So we just want to be able to pass the information that puts you in the best position.
And so there's a lot of different scenarios, and it's hard when you put together some information like this that you're going to hit every exact scenario. So we're going to try to talk about some of the high level scenarios that would be in place and things that you should be looking for, and even, I guess, maybe some things that if it starts to happen, maybe you should call a red flag.
We'll try and throw out some red flags and talk about, it's like you said, there's a million scenarios. There's a lot of different locks out there. But what can we do to give you the best information for the typical lockout?
All right, so give us a scenario. I'm out for the evening. I come home, realize, oh no, I've left my keys inside.
With the new key fobs that work in automobiles nowadays, with the way things go, if you've locked your keys inside of your house, what happens next? So obviously you're going to need a professional to get you in. And then when the professional gets there, the biggest things that you want to know is the professional doing the work right, or are they not a professional that is not doing the work correctly?
Okay, and so what should we be looking for?
So some of the things we should be looking for. Here you can see this is just a set of lock picks. So what these are made to do, and I'm going to show you a glass lock here, is manipulate the inside of the lock here, and that's going to work just like a key. So with a lot of skill, a lot of practice, an actual locksmith should be able to unlock your door using something of this nature. He may pull out a big fancy clicking gun and put that in there and do a lot of clicking. Same concept. He's going to be able to bypass the door, unlock the door just like it had a key in it by using these tools. With some of the new technology today, there's technology out there that stops the traditional old locksmith tools. This is a digital camera that goes inside the lock and helps a locksmith decode what's happening inside the lock. Depending on the kind of lock that you have, there are other tools that he may be able to use to get you inside of your home.
So a couple of different bypass methods to get in. Now here's a question. After one of these bypass methods are used, should you go inside and be able to get your key? Should your key still work, or is your key going to be deemed useless?
If any of the bypass methods we just showed is what he used to get you in, your key should still work. You should test it. There is a potential, because it was a different way than using your key, that your lock could have been damaged, and you need to test that before he leaves so that you can make sure that happens.
So with these tools that you can get, and maybe you can search it online and get your own set of tools. Is it just you take it and stick it inside there and wiggle it around a little bit and the lock just pops open?
That sounds great. That sounds absolutely great. And that could work in one scenario out of about 500. But I can promise you that the art and skill of bypassing locks via manipulation does take a lot of practice and a lot of time.
So if someone does it very quickly, it's not necessarily because the lock is easy, but it may just be that they've got a lot of practice.
It's more than likely because they've got a lot of practice. One of the other things is a locksmith, if he's having a hard time picking your front door, should ask if there are other doors. You may want to offer, hey, I also have a back door and a side door, if you would like to try to pick those, because locks can be very fickle. The lock that you use most of the time may not be the easiest to pick in a bypassing scenario.
Yeah. And then on top of that, when should a locksmith bring out a drill?
That's the biggest and scariest thing. If he brings a drill out of the car or out of the truck with him, when he gets out to introduce himself, you have a problem. A locksmith should show up with tools, and that's why we wanted to bring these. A drill is an absolute last case scenario. A good locksmith should be able to bypass most residential locks without getting a drill involved at all.
So a big term that we use in the industry, and it may not be common for consumers, but it's non-destructive bypass, meaning
Absolutely.
that you can get into the lock without destroying the lock. Destructive bypass would be using a drill.
Using a drill. Once a locksmith uses a drill, your lock is now broke. So you now have to purchase a new lock. You have to purchase or pay him to put the hardware onto your door to fix all of that. And that's what we really try to avoid. So we spend a lot of time training locksmiths to know how to do different bypass methods. This is the smallest amount of tools that would fit on the table. I could cover this table and several more with all of the tools that are out there to help be able to bypass locks.
So is it true that it's faster to drill a lock open or
Absolutely not. If a good locksmith picking residential locks should get you in fairly quickly, it is definitely not faster to destroy your lock, charge you for another lock, and take the time to put it on. It's 90% of the time going to be faster just to pick the lock and move right along.
If you're dealing with a locksmith or dealing with a service provider that says the only way I can get in is to drill the lock, what are some pre-qualifying questions or some things that you should understand as to why that is the case?
There are scenarios that put you in that, but you would have to have a restricted cylinder and not have access to whatever proprietary you got that from. So that would be a scenario where you could be in that. But I would feel like most of the time people would know, hey, I have a restricted keyway. That's one of the things that would keep you from being able, a high security cylinder. I know I have this high security lock. If it's a regular lock on your house, on your office that came from a big box hardware store or from a regular locksmith, you shouldn't have that issue.
All right. So if it is a standard lock or a non-protected lock or non-high security lock, then that's a scenario where it should be able to be bypassed. If you have a high security lock, it may require some more destructive means to bypass it, but if you do have that, then typically speaking, those are scenarios where you may not need the emergency lockout situation because you have a higher level of understanding of what kind of locks that you have.
That is correct. If you already have high security locks, you're already working with a locksmith on a regular basis who should be able to get you able to bypass that.
So maybe another way to say that is, and I guess the point I'm trying to get to is, if someone tells you you have a high security lock and it's a surprise to you, then it's probably not a high security lock.
That should be a red flag right out of the gate. If they just walk out and go, oh, I have to drill that without doing anything else, then you have a problem.
Very cool. Well, hopefully this gives you some information, some additional information on what to expect when you're locked out. It's the frustrating thing that happens. You walk out of the door to go for a run. You walk out to take the trash out, and the door closes and locks you out, and now you're just kind of stuck. But here's some things that you should expect when that happens when dealing with qualified professionals. If you would like to go ahead and connect with a qualified professional so that you don't have to be caught in a scenario where you're just trying to find someone, we always recommend find someone that has a reliable reputation, that you can go ahead and have that number saved and a connection or a relationship with them, so when you need that, you know who to call. So that's always something to do. And we would invite you to do that by clicking the link below or going ahead and calling us and letting us know how we can be of assistance to you in the future and answer any more questions for you. All of that information is listed below. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.